Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Shorty SX and welcome to Quickscope Tips Episode 4. Today I'll be teaching you everything you need to know about how to create the best Quickscope class for yourself in Call of Duty Ghosts. So, because there are a lot of options, especially when it comes to, let's say, the perks you can choose, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down everything for you. And I'll even separate them into ranks. So for example, the perks that are very important that actually affect the mechanics of your quickscopes, to the perks that are, more dependent on how you play and are just useful in general, and even the perks that are not so useful at all. So let's start. Now, I'm using the USR. In case you want to know which one's better, the USR or the L115, I suggest you check out episode 1 from Quickscope Tips because I covered both of those snipers in complete detail with all the stats, kill zones, pretty much everything you will ever need to know about those two snipers. Now, as you can see, I'm using the chrome line detachment, which I also covered in that video, and you should definitely check it out. But what it basically does is it increases damage, and at the same time increases your sway and kick a little bit. Now, it hasn't really bothered me that much because it gives the USR a very consistent, almost no hit markers type of feel, and I've really enjoyed it. And of course, with quickscopes, your sway is not going to be that big of an issue. Now, with extended mags, that's an old attachment. It's absolutely great. No change there. You guys know it's awesome. So let's move on. One thing you should actually remember though is that the attachment slots here, or the attachment points, do not affect anything else, as in they're free. From Black Ops 2, you remember that if you chose to, let's say, add a second attachment to your primary gun, that meant you had to give up 1 point somewhere else, like your perks or somewhere else. Here, this is not the case. Here, you can have either 2 attachments or 0 attachments, and it makes no difference to what you're getting. So keep that in mind. Now, of course, keep in mind also that if you're going with the L115 for this class, it's basically the same thing. The only thing I might suggest a little bit more is sleight of hand, because that tends to be pretty useful when you want to reload cancel. But anyway, let's move on. So, I'm not using any secondary, and I normally don't use any lethals or tacticals either, because I want to use all those points and put them into the perks. But just in case, you guys are curious, let me go over each one of these things. So the secondary I normally use, if I choose to go with one, is the P226. It's the pistol I seem to like the most. I tried the Magnum out, but it really didn't float my boat. So that's the one I would suggest using if you had to go with one. Also keep in mind that just like the primary, any attachments you set for your secondary are also free. So keep in mind to, actually set those if you want them. For lethals and tacticals, I'm going to leave those empty. Of course, the throwing knife is always nice, but it's not essential, and I really suggest you focus on your sniping, especially if you're trying to learn how to do it. So, let's talk about the perks. Now, this is a class you can see, and this is actually the class I've been using the most. And, by the way, in case you're curious how you get that specialist thing, you can also check out my video on the specialist. But anyway, let's talk about the perks. So the first 2 perks that I consider completely essential, and the ones that really affect the way your quickscopes work, are Quick Draw and Ready Up. Now, Quick Draw is one of those perks that, has always helped quickscoping, and about 95% of players will always agree with this, and they'll say, yes, Quick Draw is a must. Then there's the other 5% who are always going to be like, oh no, I'm a completely pro quickscoper without Quick Draw. And that could be the case. I'm sure you could be an amazing sniper without Quick Draw. But to be honest, if you, yourself, ran into another version of yourself or another sniper with the exact same skill, and you faced off against each other, well, guess what? He would kill you before your sniper would even fire straight. So in that aspect, yes, Quick Draw is very useful. So let's move on. Ready Up is another perk that actually affects how your sniper handles after you come out of sprint. I have an entire video on this. It's Quickscope Tips episode 3. Go check that out because it covers everything you need to know about the Ready Up perk. The way it basically works is if you do use it, you get a little bit more speed but less accuracy. If you don't use it, you save the perk slot, and you will never have to worry about accuracy when you're coming out of sprint. But again, check that video out for more detail. So those are really the only 2 perks that affect the mechanics of your quickscoping. And again, Ready Up is not really a must, it's more of a decision you have to make whether you want to use it or not, with the pros and cons. But let's move on to what I like to call the rank 2 perks. These are awesome perks which I try to use all the time, and if I could, I would throw all of these into my starting perks. Of course you can't, even if you use specialist, but let's move on. So the 2 that are very important are Dead Silence and Amplify. They will both help your awareness incredibly. For anyone going, oh, sound whoring, it doesn't matter. Like, that's how you play first-person shooters, that's how it's always been, that's how it should be. So, you definitely want to have as much awareness. Now, of course, if you're one of those people that are just not playing with headphones and so on, then at least put Dead Silence on, because you don't want anyone else to really hear your footsteps that loudly, because it just announces you to the enemy. It's kind of like appearing on the radar at all times if your enemies are wearing headsets and so on. The other two perks that are very important are Sleight of Hand and Marathon. Now, Marathon is great because first, it's unlimited sprint, and who doesn't like sprinting? But the most important thing about Marathon is that you're very vulnerable as a quickscoper when you come out of sprint. And if you don't have Marathon, you will stop, you'll run out of breath so often that you'll notice yourself just stopping. And that stop has gotten me killed more times than anything over the years in pretty much every single COD. Because if you run out of sprint and you just stop, you're kind of like a sitting duck. You have nothing you can do. You're very slow. Your sniper's slow. Everything's super slow. So Marathon is an absolutely great choice in terms of a perk. Sleight of Hand, of course, helps you reload faster, but is great for reload canceling. If you don't know how reload canceling works, check out Quickscope Tips episode 1. I'll show you. It's basically a trick you use to increase the fire rate of any sniper. It's especially useful for the L115 because, well, that sniper rifle has a very slow rate of fire. In fact, it's kind of like the Nerf DSR, but, well, okay, exactly like the Nerf DSR, but anyway, let's move on. So, the rank 3 perks are the ones I really like as well. It's just they're not as important as the perks we've already covered. So, these usually have to go in my specialist package. And of course, selecting which one comes first and which one's more important to you is all about personal preference and depends on how you guys play yourself. It's never going to be the same, so here we go. So the rank 3 perks start with Focus. Focus is great. It of course reduces your flinch, so when you get shot, your aim won't fly around the place so much. The only problem with Focus is that as a sniper, I've noticed that if I get shot, even once, even with Focus, it's pretty hard to turn on people. As in, they kill you that quickly, and it's really not like Modern Warfare 3 where you could get shot, once or twice and maybe get away. Like here, I feel like I'm just dying if I get hit even once. So even with Focus on, it really doesn't make that big a difference, and you just have to decide whether you think it's worth the 2 points. Now, off the grid, of course, makes you indetectable to SATCOMs and everything, so it's a great perk to have if you want to stay invisible, especially if you're trying to, flank your enemies or get behind them. Very good perk to have. Absolutely go for it. Agility is great. It increases your movement speed, which is awesome for many, many reasons. It makes you more agile. It's something I like to do personally. The only problem is 2 points. Once again, it has to go into my specialist package because things like, Marathon or Dead Silence or Quick Draw are just that much more important. So I never really got the chance to play with it all that much in my main package. Now, Sitrep, the reason it's on here is because people have been using, IEDs or every possible type of, equipment to destroy you in this game. And it's been pretty bad, especially IEDs. Like, you see those things everywhere, or C4, stuff like that. Like, basically what I'm trying to say is Sitrep will help you a lot. You will see those SATCOMs especially because, people are throwing around SATCOMs like crazy. If you have Sitrep, you're going to know where people are a lot better, and you're not going to get caught off guard by, that random ID that just goes beep, beep, beep. Oh, too late. I'm sorry. You didn't react fast enough. Too bad. Alright, so let's move on. The last perk I'm going to put in this rank is Blast Shield. Blast Shield, of course, is great for any type of explosive damage, and it's pretty much the same thing as Tac Resist. The only reason I'm putting Blast Shield up here instead of Tac Resist is because I have to deal with a lot more explosives and, again, IEDs, C4, stuff like that. So, let's move on. Now, the rank 4 perks are, again, useful perks. They're just, I usually don't find them as useful as the rank 3 or above perks. So, for starters, Resilience, it's great. In fact, if I have the 1 perk slot, this is usually the one I put in my, starting perks to begin with. But, again, points are all that matter, so you have to make your choices. Scavenger, also another great perk if you are going for long kill streaks. For example, if you're going for Chem Strike or something like that, you definitely want Scavenger. Otherwise, it becomes a very different type of challenge. But you guys have probably seen that video. So, Tac Resist, of course, is great. The only thing is I haven't really noticed too many people using tacs. Like, sure, there are 9 bangs and a few concussions, but it hasn't really been that popular yet, so I don't know, maybe this will change. Blind Eye is great if you're worried about kill streaks or if you're playing team games and the enemy, is constantly calling in air support, but at the same time, not the most useful thing. Steady Aim, again, not the most useful thing because how often are you guys going to be no-scoping in Black Ops 2, hopefully not much. In Ghosts, but I don't know, I don't find myself no-scoping all that much, and anytime I do, it's, it's more of a, let's see if it hits than sure thing. So I've never been a fan of steady aim, so let's leave that off. And the last one I actually kind of like is ICU. Now this is something I normally put in, that last, like the specialist bonus part of the specialist package. So when you get all your perks, this is the one you get. And it's actually pretty nice because it makes you recover really, really quickly. So as a sniper, for example, if you fire a shot and then you hide behind something, it will make you recover health really quickly, especially if you get shot by, only a couple of shots and somehow manage to survive. But anyway, I just found that to be a pretty useful one. So the last little 2 perks I want to go over are Hardline and Deadeye, because I've received a lot of questions on both of those, and people wanting me to do videos on them and so on, but there's really no point, because let me just save you the trouble and say Hardline, it's not that useful, especially if you're using the specialist package. Not the most useful thing, because you're giving up 2 perk points to get another perk 1 kill early. It's really not worth it. If you're going for an assault package, perhaps, maybe you want to use it then to, I don't know, spam satcoms or whatever you feel like doing, but with specialists, definitely not the way to go. The other one is Deadeye. Yes, Deadeye might perhaps help you with a head marker at some point ever, but is it worth the 5 points? Absolutely not. As a sniper, especially a quickscoper, this should never be a perk you're considering, because those 5 points can be spent on so many better things. Alright, well, I guess that's enough. Let me actually show you a few classes I've created, just because they're useful. So the first one, of course, is the specialist one I showed you. In case you're wondering how I did that little specialist package trick, you basically have to fill out all your perks and then deselect one, but for more detail, just go to my specialist video and that'll teach you everything you need to know about specialist. But as you can see, this is the class I'm going with. It's been working out pretty great so far. I'm really happy with it. And, well, you guys have seen some pretty good gameplay, so can't complain. Now, another class, in case you don't want to go with the specialist package and you want to go with the assault package, get something that actually helps you get kills, this is a good one I actually like to run. Now, you can notice that in the starting perks, I'm actually using off the grid, and the reason for this is just because I tend to use this in more team type of games, and I don't like to be seen by the enemy because they tend to spam satcoms and, you're just that red dot on their radar, and that's not a good thing. In fact, it's a horrible thing. So, that's a pretty good class in case you want to use the assault package. Of course, the dog is awesome. The battle hind is just, no one shoots those things down, so they just rape all night. It's pretty good. The last USR class is the support one, just in case you guys want to go for something more supportive without actual kill streaks that, do damage themselves. This is the one I used quite a bit. The SATCOM, of course, the Night Owl, which is pretty great because, it circles you around and makes sure it reveals everyone around you with that nice little radar ping. It's pretty useful. The Oracle, of course, is a no-brainer because the Oracle, for anyone who's used it, is an absolutely amazing kill streak. It will help you get kills like crazy. And if you guys really want to, help your team out, I definitely suggest you go for that Odin, because the Odin satellite, of course, the support version of the satellite, it's amazing. It drops care packages, it drops juggernauts, it drops smoke, it tags people the way the Oracle does, except for longer. It's an amazing kill streak, especially, if you want to help your teammates and be a positive player. Definitely the way to go. So, I think that kind of covers it up. I hope this helps you guys. I hope you learned something. Well, I'm sure you learned a lot today, but I hope this really, explains all my decisions or why I made those choices and why I play my sniper class the way I do. And look at all those shorties. That's awesome. Alright, enough. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember to leave a like and a rating and, of course, a comment if you guys enjoyed this, just to let me know and help this video out, because these take forever to record. But anyway, take it easy. I'll catch you next time. Peace.